Yesterday, I did something that no African leader has done in decades. I picked up the phone and told the most powerful man in the world exactly what I thought about his plan to destroy my people's future. That man was Donald Trump. And what I told him? It's about to change everything you think you know about how small nations deal with superpowers. But before I tell you what happened on that call, because trust me, it was explosive, you need to understand what was really at stake. This wasn't just about trade. This wasn't just about economics. This was about whether 22 million people would eat tomorrow, or whether they'd become refugees fleeing a continent that the world has already written off. My name is Ibrahim Traore. I'm 35 years old. I run Burkina Faso, and yesterday I declared war on the system that's been bleeding Africa dry for centuries. Stay with me, because what I'm about to tell you will explain why every intelligence agency in Washington is now watching my every move. 3 days ago, my economic advisors rushed into my office with news that made my blood run cold. The United States was about to impose a 30% tariff on everything we export to America. Not 5%, not 10%, 30%. To put that in perspective, that's not a trade adjustment. That's even have the courtesy to warn us first. We found out the same way everyone else did, through rumors, through leaked documents, through the whispers of diplomats who couldn't look us in the eye, as if 22 million people weren't worth a phone call before you destroy their economy. That's when I knew this wasn't about trade policy. This was about sending a message that Africa should know its place, that we should be grateful for whatever scraps fall from their table, that we should never, ever forget who's really in charge. They were wrong. Let me tell you something about the phone call that's got Washington talking. Because what happened in those 23 minutes wasn't diplomacy. It was a reckoning. When Trump's voice came through that secure line, I could hear it immediately. The tone you use when you're talking to someone you don't consider an equal, the casual dismissal, the assumption that I'd called to beg. He started talking about America's economic interests, about protecting American jobs, about how these tariffs were necessary for America's future. I let him finish. Then I said something that I guarantee no American president has heard from an African leader in decades. I said, "Mr. President, let me tell you about my economic interests." The line went quiet, and that's when I told him exactly what his 30% tariff would do to my people. But here's the part that really got his attention. Here's the part that made him realize he wasn't dealing with the kind of African leader he was used to. I told him about Sarah. Sarah is 23 years old. She works in a textile factory in Ouagadougou. She supports her mother, her 2 younger brothers, and her own infant daughter on the wages she makes sewing clothes that get shipped to American stores. When Trump's tariff hits, Sarah doesn't just lose her job, she loses everything. Her family goes hungry. Her daughter stops getting the medication she needs. Her brothers drop out of school to try to find work that doesn't exist. And Sarah becomes one of the millions of young Africans who start looking